Sitting Bull was a Lakota leader and sun dancer. This means he fought to salvage the Lakota traditions rather than to give in to the assimilation and convert to the religious practices and lifestyles of the white people. Many people might know Sitting Bull as the man who killed General Custer in the Battle of Little Bighorn, or a performer in the Buffalo Bill show that performed around the country. But many do not know the great impact he had on the Lakota nation. Sitting Bull fought for what he believed in until the day he died. Many Native Americans did not agree with Sitting Bull at the time and after his death. There was anger and dispute among the Hunkpapa Lakota following the death of Sitting Bull. The stories of the Native American lives were passed down through blood relatives. There may be many accounts of Sitting Bull's life and legacy, but Aaron LaPointe, the great-grandson of Sitting Bull, is telling the official story passed down from the blood relatives. The reputation of Sitting Bull is not what you would imagine it to be for a great warrior who stood up for the traditions of the Lakota people. There is still hostility among the Lakota people towards Sitting Bull and his followers. The true intent of Sitting Bull's life mission was not captured and accepted by many. It is time people realized why Sitting Bull was so intent on keeping the traditional ways of life of the Lakota people. As a young child, Sitting Bull was different from other children. He was careful and disciplined. Many Lakota people thought this made him slow or weak. The Lakota people even called him Nkesni, meaning slow moving. By 7 years old, he had made a bow and arrow that was perfectly balanced. This was a big accomplishment for even a full-grown Lakota warrior, so for a boy that young to achieve this was very impressive. Sitting Bull would show his talents and bravery as he grew older. Aaron LaPointe recorded an experience from Sitting Bull's childhood on page 23 of Sitting Bull, His Life and Legacy. That is a great indication of the warrior he would come to be. Several young boys, including Sitting Bull, were instructed to hunt and bring back a beautiful bird. He finally spotted a beautiful bird at the same time as another boy. The other boy shot at the bird but missed, and his arrow got stuck in the tree. Instead of shooting the bird, Sitting Bull decided to help by shooting the arrow out of the tree. When the arrow fell, it broke, making the boy very angry and threatening to fight Sitting Bull. In order to avoid a fight, Sitting Bull offered the boy his perfect arrow, even though he spent a lot of time on it to make it balanced. This act of wisdom to keep the peace was rewarded by the teacher and seen as a great trait possessed by Sitting Bull. Sitting Bull was still referred to as slow and weak, but he was being noticed as a skillful Lakota warrior. It is Lakota tradition for at a certain age a boy be taught the Lakota way of life by a brother or brother-in-law of their father. Sitting Bull was taught by Thor Horns how to be a warrior man and provide for the family. This is where Sitting Bull learned many of the Lakota traditions and spiritual rituals that he valued so much. Through his training, he also grew as a warrior both physically and mentally. Sitting Bull became known for his wisdom and courage on the battlefield. Due to his strengths on the battlefield, he was invited into the Strong Heart Society. This is a group of the bravest and most compassionate warriors. Sitting Bull was appointed chief of the Lakota. During this time, the Americans were starting to invade many Indian reservations and convince them to conform to their ways of living. The Americans were described in Sitting Bull, His Life and Legacy on page 48 as the Long Knives. Their reputation was, once they arrived, they did not leave willingly. Whatever they took, they never gave back, and they did not share. Sitting Bull was not on board with his plan and was not willing to let go of his spiritual ways and traditions. Sitting Bull's policy was avoidance. He would not attack any white settlers as long as they left their hunting grounds alone. The traditions of the white settlers were being adopted by many tribes. Sitting Bull still held his policy of avoidance. That was getting harder and harder to keep as the Americans were intent on converting the Lakota and Sitting Bull to the American traditions. The battle at Arrow Creek in the winter of 1870 was described on pages 53 to 57 by Aaron LaPointe in his biography of Sitting Bull as one of the greatest acts of courage and bravery shown by Sitting Bull. This battle took place at Big Dry Creek against the Long Knives. Sitting Bull realized after a long night of fighting that the Long Knives had the upper hand and called the tribes back, stating that their bravery had been shown, that they did not need any more bloodshed. Many of the warriors mocked Sitting Bull for saying this, that he had forgotten how to be brave in his old age. Angry that the warriors questioned his authority, Sitting Bull dismounted his horse and walked to the center of the battlefield, sat down, and motioned the warriors to join him for a smoke. Only 3 very nervous men joined him. This act of bravery quieted the warriors who questioned him. In order to keep his people safe after the Battle of Little Bighorn, where General Custer was killed, Sitting Bull took his people across the border into Canada, where they stayed for nearly 4 years. They were slaves for the Americans, but when the buffalo ran out, they were facing starvation. According to History.com, Sitting Bull finally traveled to the United States and surrendered himself on July 20th, 1881. During this period, the Lakota became very divided. There were many people who still followed Sitting Bull and believed their traditions and way of life were worth saving, while others gave into the American way in order to survive. Many of the Indian people who gave into the American way grew to despise Sitting Bull and the fact that he was putting his people in jeopardy of starvation and death in order to save his spiritual traditions. Several years after being in custody by the United States, Sitting Bull was killed while being arrested. According to Ernie Lapointe, many of the history books and articles detailing the death of Sitting Bull were fabricated. The account of his death are on pages 94 to 107 in Sitting Bull, His Life and Legacy. This oral story is passed down from Henry Little Soldier, who was present for the murder of Sitting Bull. This story is a detailed description of the betrayal that led up to the arrest and murder of Sitting Bull. Leading up to his arrest, Sitting Bull had been in custody and ordered not to travel from the reservation without permission. In a council meeting regarding the ghost dance ritual that was growing among the Lakota people, Sitting Bull stated that he was planning to travel to Pine Ridge Reservation to address the issue. Many people believe that Sitting Bull was in support of the ghost dance, when in fact he thought it gave people false hope. The ghost dance was a ritual performed by many Lakota people at the time that was said to bring back all the buffalo and get rid of the white invaders. Many believed in the power of the ghost dance and performed this ritual religiously. In that meeting was Sitting Bull's nephew, One Bull. Sitting Bull had taught One Bull the ways of the Lakota people just as Four Horns did for him when he was a boy. One Bull was not loyal to Sitting Bull, though. Instead, he was relaying all of the decisions made in these council meetings to McLaughlin. Right after the meeting, where Sitting Bull stated that he was be traveling to Pine Ridge Reservation, One Bull got on his horse and rode to telegraph McLaughlin about this decision. On December 15, 1890, the Indian police escorted Sitting Bull from his cabin. Many of his followers were watching as the arrest took place. As he was being arrested, Sergeant Red Tomahawk approached Sitting Bull from behind with a pistol pointed at his head. In order to stop the arrest from happening, one of Sitting Bull's followers started to struggle with the police officer. During the struggle, Sitting Bull was shot through the chest by Bull Chest and through the heart by Red Tomahawk. 14 people died in the struggle, including Sitting Bull, his son Crowfoot, and 5 of his followers. Even though Sitting Bull was known as one of the bravest and most courageous warriors in the Lakota tribe, his legacy was not as expected in the years leading up to his death. He was not honored as the chief he was, but rather as a danger to the Lakota people. Those who did not follow his beliefs and values for the Lakota culture thought he was putting their lives in danger. They believed he couldn't let go of the Lakota culture even though he was risking death in battle or starvation of his people. He is more well known today for his stubbornness and distrust of the white settlers rather than the pride he showed towards his culture. The fear Sitting Bull had, with conforming to the white man's traditions, was that the Lakota way would die. While it is not completely gone today, it is much smaller. Of the 70,000 Lakota still in the United States, less than half still speak the language. The Lakota people still teach their children the Lakota way, but do not practice the spiritual traditions the same as they did in the past. Aaron Lapointe and his siblings are the only direct blood relatives of Sitting Bull and believe it is their mission to tell the real story of the Lakota and Sitting Bull to heal the wounds that were made in the past.